Hello, I'm Antoine, and in this video I'm going to go over how to make the planet generator that I used in the cinematic I made. So the first thing we're going to do is, okay, first of all I'm just using the default third-person template for C++ with the Voxel plugin installed, and then we're just going to create a Voxel planet folder. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is make a new voxel macro, voxel graph macro, and I'm just going to call this a step. This is going to be one layer of noise. The first thing we're going to do for this is we want to add, or there. We're going to add some inputs. We're going to call this step noise. It's going to be an integer. We're going to have a certain, this will allow us to switch between the certain noise types we're going to set up. There should be, I think, 5 of them. Yeah. Okay, then we're going to need step strength. And that should be a float. I'm going to make step frequency. And then we need to add a few more. Okay, the next one should be step on. At least that's what I'm calling it. This will just turn the noise on or off. Technically, you can just set the strength at 0, but personally, I like having the boolean to do it. Then we have step seed. Just needs to be a seed type. And then we need radius. And last of all, we need the radius offset. Okay, so from there, we're going to get a, we're going to set a local variable. Step noise is good. We're just entering these all into local variables. Okay, and then we just need this one. Okay, now that's all good. So next we're going to create the function to switch between noise types. So we just need to get the step noise variable. And we're going to trade off and do a int less than int. And then we just want to copy and paste this a few times. And then the top one should always be the step noise. And then we're going to plug these into switches. switch float. I'm going to duplicate that 4 times 2. Okay, so next we're going to create the noise nodes that are going to hook up to it. So we just want to get X, Y, Z. We're going to normalize it. Then we want to get the 3D IQ noise. We want the 3D Perlin noise. Let's grab the other 3D Perlin noise. We want the fractal one. All the nodes we're using should be in brown. At least that's what I'm using. Creator. And then value. Okay, then on mine, I usually change my interpolation, not interpolation. Okay, yeah, here it is. Most of mine are on really rigid multi. I just liked the way that one looked more. So I'm gonna do that here to the ones that I can. Okay, and then we just need to hook all of these up to this. Okay, then we want to get the step frequency. We're going to hook up that up to each thing. Then we want the step seed. Hook that up to each one. So basically this is all for one massive switch that will say which one to use. That way you can have different biomes be different types of noise. Okay. Then we just need to hook these up. Like this. That way we can switch between them all. Then we want to hook all of these up to the switches. And that's how I tell mine to switch between the different types of noise I'm using. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply the output by the strength. Then we're going to switch float again. And this time we're just going to use step on. And it's just going to switch between doing this and not, which is why we're leaving that one as 0. And then we need to come back above this and we're going to get the radius. And we're going to subtract the radius offset. And then we need a less than, or we're gonna hook this one up to the top, and this up to radius. And then we're gonna have another switch float. And hook that up. And then we're just going to subtract that, and then we need the output. So this, once we have biomes, this will be more apparent what it does. It's for that. Basically you can set them off like by a certain amount of height. And this is just making sure that it's essentially valid. Okay, so then we just need to add two outputs. This one should be step noise, and the other one will be step noise alpha. And this is the step noise, and the step noise alpha is what's directly coming out of the switch. Okay, so we can save that, and this macro is done. And next we're going to create a new one. So I'm just going to minimize that, and we're going to create a new Voxel Graph macro, and this one's just going to be called Biome. Okay. We're going to start with the input again, and we need quite a few inputs. We'll just start with the first few. We're going to call this Biome noise, and this is going to tell each step what type of the noise for the overall biome. We have to have it on the step noise so that it will use it. Otherwise it won't. Basically this will dictate the steps. There's going to be 5 of them that are being configured here. I'm just going to finish adding in the variables. So there should be, I think, 10. Okay, then step 1, strength. And then you'll probably just want to copy and paste this for the next few things and change the number, because I'm going to use the 5 levels. The more levels you have, the more inefficient it is. So whether or not this will work is really depends on what you're doing. It works great for renders, but it probably won't work great for a game. Okay. Next, we're going to put in the radius. We want the Biome Seed, and we don't have the radius offset here because that is actually, or we do have the radius offset here. We don't have it on in the voxel graph itself, because each biome will have its own offset. These are just out of order. We're going to call this biome frequency. And then the last one is radius offset. And then we're going to get the step. And we should have 5 of these nodes. I'm just going to move these out of the way for a moment. Okay, so to start off with, we can just hook up all the ones that are straightforward. So basically all of the ones that already say what they are. Oh, wrong one. And then for some of these, we're going to do a little math on them before we input them into the step. That way we get a little variation. So the way that the steps work is each one has a little more detail, or maybe it's a little less. Yeah, a little more. So the further down you go, the more detail you're getting. That way we have more detail. It's not just one set of noise applied to the entire terrain at like a planet level. You'll get some variation at ground level. Okay, now we can go to radius. For everything else, we're gonna change a few things before we input it. So let's start with the Biome Seed. We're gonna go make seeds. This just adds a little more variation as opposed to just plugging it in. But it should work either way just because it's not, there are different scales, or will be. Okay. Next, we're going to finish off these. Okay, now to get the step on, we're just going to check if the float is greater than 0. And we're just going to do this for each one. And I guess it's worth mentioning that I don't know how redundant some of my code is. It's just the way I originally made it. With the amount of noise I have used here, it's impossible to use for a game regardless of what I'm putting in, I think. That checks all of this. Okay, and then the radius offset only applies to this top one. That's the, I guess kind of the alpha node. It's the main one for this biome. And that's the one that we offset with the radius that will determine like how high up it shows on the overall planet. Okay. Next, we only need to do the frequency. And we should plug this one straight into frequency. For the rest, we're going to multiply by 4. And then for mine, I just do this multiple times. I do it for each, I just multiply it by 4 for each step. That way we get some more detail. Okay. After that, we're going to get the radius and subtract the step noise. And then we're going to add the step noise to each of our other step noises. Then we don't need that. We don't use that in the graph, at least not in this one. And then we're going to have two outputs. We have biome noise, and that's this. And we're going to have biome alpha and biome alpha noise, and that just comes from this. Okay, well, we can save this one, and I'm going to save all really quickly. And next, we're going to create the actual voxel graph. So I'm just going to call mine Planet. Okay. So, first of all, we need a parameter. That should be a float, and it's just going to be a radius. And even with all of the work we did before, we're still going to have quite a bit of stuff to do. Before this will work. I'm going to make seeds. Basically, we need to create all of the parameters to configure our planet now. So we're going to get the biome. And like before, we need 5 of these. Okay. Then we're going to, okay, let's just start with the basics again. We're just going to hook the name variables into what they're supposed to be hooked into. And then we'll set up the radius offset next. They're just pre-configured to always, the biomes are always set in a certain order. Actually, one difference between this setup and the one I was using before is this one has 2 extra biomes. I think on my previous one I only used 3. So I'm just going to add or subtract an additional 500 on each biome. Okay, now we're going to set up each of the parameters for the biome. Let me drag these further away just to give ourselves a little extra room. So we need a parameter, and we're going to call this biome 1. Then I'm going to put a bar between and noise. And I'm just going to do that for each of these. Biome 1. Step 1. Strength. Okay, I'm just going to pause the video here and do this for all of these that we haven't set a value for or plugged in yet. We're going to do that for each of those, and then we'll go from there. Okay, as you can see, I've hooked all mine up. I've just changed the biome numbers. From here, we're going to set up the default values. So for most of mine, I just leave it at noise 0. The step strength should be 1500 on number 1, 750 on number 2, 375. Basically, I just divide it roughly in half for most of these. So if you wanted, you could probably just put some math nodes in and do it that way, but that offers less control. And then just 3 on frequency. And that's the same for all of the different biome configurations. So once again, you just need to go through and do that for each of them. And I'll pick up after I've done that. Okay, I have put in the values for all of my parameters. Earlier when we were just hooking them all up, we could have put all of the values in before and just copy and pasted them all. Probably would have worked better. I'll leave a note somewhere before this. So next we're going to hook up these to lerps. So just gonna first we need to get the radius. So first we need to make the radius. So we're going to do vector length. Wrong way. We want the 3 vector length. Split. Let's get x, y, and z. Okay, and then we want to subtract float minus float, and we're going to have a float parameter of radius. And the default value for this, I usually put mine at 100 in 5000. And then we're just going to save this as a local variable as radius. Okay, now from there we're going to get radius, and we need a lerp. Let's just grab the float lerp. We're going to take the biome noise and plug it into there, and then we're going to use the biome alpha noise as the alpha, and then we're going to create another 4 of these nodes. Okay, and for each of the following ones, we just need to hook, oh, sorry, wrong one. We're gonna hook up the biome noise to the bees. And you don't have to use as many biomes as I have here. You also don't have to use as many steps. The original one only uses, I think it's 5 biomes and 3 steps each. But you can really have as many as you want here. Just keep in mind that the more you have, it's going to cost more to create. Then for each of the alphas, we just drag these in again. Okay, now once we have all that, we're going to use the start node. We're going to drag off that and set high quality value, and we just drag this out and plug it in. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is set up the material. So what we need now are, we're going to create a local variable. This is going to be biome 1 color, and we're going to change this to a color. Maybe I should have held off to hook up the alert. So I'm just going to break mine for performance reasons before we're done. We're just going to finish setting up, and then we'll move on to hooking that up again. So let's just change all these. And as many biomes as you have, you're probably going to want a different color for each of them. So just make as many variables as you need. You can technically hook these up to parameters, but that usually ends up crashing the engine when I do it, so I'm not trying that this time. Instead, we're just going to have the local variables. Okay, let's see. I'm just gonna put some colors on here. Okay, that should be good. Also, if you want, there is a random color. So if you wanted, you could just use like this, and then change it and hook them into multiple of these and use random colors. And then you could just change the seed and you'd have a new planet color each time. We're not going to do that here, but you can do that. Okay, so now we're going to, I guess off of here we should get this set sphere up vector. After that we're going to do set color. And to do this we're going to do lerp color. And we need 5 of these. And we're just going to use the biome alpha noise for the lerps again. Okay, and then just gonna put all of these should be A. Okay, then we're going to get biome 1 color, and that's going to be hooked up for both. Basically it's just this biome 1 is the default color. Because we don't really want just black. For the rest of these, we're only going to hook them up to 1. 3 color. After this, we're going to go into how to make this material that I'm using to create this. Okay, before we go on, we're just going to hit save all. And then I think I'm going to hook up the color part first. And then I'm going to hook up the value. And then as far as our generator goes, that should be good. And then I'm just going to X this out so I don't cause more issues. So the next thing we're going to do is create that material. So we just need a normal material. Let's just call it Planet. Planet. Yeah, I'll just leave this in planet. Okay. Guess we crashed. Okay, for a second there it crashed. We're gonna get right back to doing the material now. Okay, good. It didn't crash this time. Okay, so I'm just gonna use a constant and set this to 1. And then for And then we're going to change the opaque to masked, and we're going to get the voxel opacity. Now this should allow us to do layers, I think. So off the base color we want a lerp, linear interpolate, so the first thing we're going to do is get a voxel planet blend. Then we're going to drag off of here and create a scalar parameter. This is going to be the grass slash mud angle. And then we're going to just create another one. And this is the grass slash mud contrast. And I have mine at 90 and 1. We will probably edit these on the material instance later. So from there, we're just going to plug those into... Actually, we're just going to leave this for a second. We're going to copy and paste these and create another set. The mud slash stone. Okay, and we're going to change that 90 to a 45, and I'm going to set this to 0.95. Okay, now we're going to start hooking things up. Now this one goes to the alpha there. And this, we need another linear interpolate. And we're going to hook this one up to here. And then from there, we want another linear interpolate. And we just want a vector parameter. This is going to be mud color. Then we want another vector parameter, stone color. And then we're going to get the vertex color. And we want this one to be plugged into here. Another linear interpolate up here, and we want to plug this into A and A, and then the mud color will go to B, and the stone color will go to B. Then this just plugs into here. That way we have some blending between each of these. The vertex colors are the ones that we're using in the that we're setting in the voxel graph. So let's just set a default value for these. Not the best mud, but it will work. And there's our stone. Okay, let's save all before we go on. Okay, so the next thing to do is we're going to create a material instance. Just leave it as it is. Yeah, we're probably good leaving that as it is for now. We can change it later. Okay, so what we're going to do next is create the voxel world. So inside the level, we're just going to go to voxel and make a voxel world. Then we want to switch the voxel generator to an object and the planet. We want to change this to the planet inst. Let's just hit save all again. Size. Okay. 1 second. Let's. Oh, the radius isn't set here. Oh, here it is. So we just want to grab the local variable radius, assuming it doesn't crash. And we're going to delete that one. Maybe I should have detached it first. Just for a moment. Then we're going to rehook these all up. I think we were just confusing it by having two parameters that were radius. But we should have it working now. Save all, and then hook it up again. The issue was it was just really unperformant mainly, but as you can see it's working now. So you only need the voxel world size to be at 262,144, and then I have my max LOD at 11. And then make sure that the radius is at 105,000. Other than that, I deleted the atmospheric fog and the sky sphere blueprint, and this is what you get after doing that. See, you can see if we get closer, it takes, like, that's a lot of voxel class, and it takes quite a while to get through, but eventually it should load.